Are you having a rough time right now trying to hit the end game, but for some reason you just can't reach the finish line? Well, in this video, I'm going to provide you with some tips and tricks to help you get there and reach the end game as you desire. That being said, let's jump into the video. Perhaps the biggest culprit when it comes to the struggle of reaching endgame is that you're not playing to your style, you're playing to a meta. You're playing to what you're trying to copy and paste off of what someone said on a certain website or a certain video, and you're not listening to what you want to do. You're not abiding by your own play style. And all of us have our own unique ways of playing games. In my case, I typically like to play the more defensive style, and so Warrior really stood out to me the most, and I was able to reach the end game much faster compared to other classes. Now, granted, I do have other classes I've taken to end game, but Warrior was the one class that I felt the most comfortable in. I didn't feel as much stress or any tension. I really just eased my way through toward the end game. And that was really the turning point for me to realize, oh, okay, so if I play to my own play style and not what the meta wants me to play, I'll not only have more fun, but I'll reach my end goal a lot faster. So that right there is perhaps what you need to focus on, is find a class that suits you. Don't copy and paste what someone else tells you is best, because it's very similar to someone giving you the keys to a car, but you don't know how to drive it. Well, it's the same thing with a build. Someone can give you a build, but if you don't know the ins and outs and about how the build works, it's just not going to work out for you, and you're going to get frustrated, and then ultimately you may even leave the game, and we don't want that. So best advice here to get to end game is to stick to a class that you like. Doesn't matter what it is, but cater your style to the class that you enjoy and figure things out from there, because really at the end of the day, it comes down to mastery of your build. And if you learn how to build your own class, or at least you build something that caters to your style, you're more likely to enjoy the experience, and the end result and reward will be that much more gratifying. So that being said, let's move on to the next point. One thing to take note of when it comes to the endgame is that it is very night and day compared to that of the campaign. And that's just because endgame really tests your build, and it tests your understanding of the game, because game knowledge is going to be what's pivotal to you getting to endgame faster. Without any real knowledge about enemy patterns and your own build as a whole, you're just not going to really reach the level that you're desiring, because you lack fundamentals. Because here in the end game, yes, it's a blast to play. It's really fun to play in the end game. However, it can become very frustrating if your build doesn't adhere to that of the end game. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's go to the passive skill tree, because this is where the point about building with intention comes into play. As I mentioned in the previous section about playing to your style, you want to build with the intention behind that style. So if you're more aggressive, you need to be building into nodes that are more offensive driven. In the case of Warrior, you can go into melee damage, you can go into more crit damage, all of these other things that can help you to establish more control in the offensive category. In my case, I look for things like energy shield, armor. These nodes are going to help me to better facilitate my defensive options. And then as I progress through the game, I'll slowly advance and build into my melee, as you can see. But most importantly, my skill tree, and mind you, I'll make a video on my build. I'll provide a huge breakdown and analyze my build, so that way you can better understand it. But in short, I look for nodes that are going to benefit me defensively. So things like energy shield, armor, life regen, stun threshold, all of these things are going to really help me here. Block chance, heavy stun build up. These things are really important for me. And so when I build into that, it gives me the confidence knowing that I can go into every single node on the endgame map and think, okay, I can handle this. I can take on the enemies with greater confidence and assurance that A, I can survive, because in endgame, your survival is way more imperative than that in the campaign. Way more important, because every loss you take in every single node, you're losing experience points. So you don't want to take careless risks, and most importantly, you don't want to go in with a build that you don't understand. So that goes right back again to the early point of playing to your style and knowing your own build, and then from there, building with the intention as to what your playstyle is. Because if you don't have the intention behind building, then you're not going to have a build that you like, and you're just going to go into every single engagement uncomfortable, confused, and unaware. So that being said, let's move on. As with life, you need to be able to study things carefully in order to better understand how to master or overcome whatever's in front of you. Path of Exile 2 has a lot to offer in terms of information. Whenever you log into the game, there is a plethora of information for you to just browse through and scroll through, but it gives you all the information right there in detail. So if you, let's say, are confused about critical hits or stun threshold or elemental ailments, there is a lot of information that you can read over and just try to grasp as you play. Now, what's really imperative here isn't just so much about the ailments and what they can do to enemies, but the enemies themselves are really where you need to be putting a lot of emphasis towards. And that's because bosses, for the most part, especially in campaign, can be quite daunting to deal with. Vipers, Queen of Filth, Doriani, all these bosses, they all have patterns. And so you, the player, need to understand how these patterns work and how you can exploit them to make your build that much better. It isn't just about going into the game and then just mindlessly mashing buttons. It's really a way of using your time wisely, utilizing your skills effectively, and making the right decisions at the right time. And so you really have to focus. And the best way I like to focus is by taking a nice big sip of Advanced.gg's premium supplements that you can find on their website. They have a plethora of options to choose from, whether you are a pro gamer or you're someone who just wants to stay hydrated. Maybe you're a gym enthusiast and you need to just stay in shape and keep yourself energized. Not to worry, Advanced.gg has all those for you. If you're perhaps lacking in sleep because you're just grinding too much in Path of Exile, not to worry as well, Advanced.gg has you covered. All of this can be found on their website, and if you want to take advantage of the product that they offer, you can use my promo code NEWENERGY10 at checkout to save 10% and much more. So that being said, let's get back into the topic. So studying the game carefully really requires you, the player, to dive deep and invest. It's an investment. This isn't just about you playing the game, it's about you understanding it to the point where you have control over it. And where most players tend to suffer is they lack that control because A, they don't know the build that they're using. 2, they don't understand what they're doing against the boss because they don't recognize enemy patterns. And 3, you're not really concentrating enough. You're not focusing on what is important throughout every engagement. So all this together in just a total culmination of advice, really do your best to look at Path of Exile not as just a way of approaching things by that of copy and paste. Think of the game as a fun experience that you can create for yourself, and as you understand what you're doing, and your build starts to make more sense, enemies and their engagements and their patterns will make more sense to you because there's less of a layer for you to think about. The less layers you can apply upon yourself mentally, it becomes more clearer because now you understand your build, and then you can better use that information to defeat enemies along the way. So hopefully this video has given you some advice. Again, look forward to a more in-depth breakdown of my build for the Smith of Catava. If you want to see more content like this on the channel, then be sure, as always, to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your comments down below as to what you're looking forward to. And as always, new warriors, stay strong, keep fighting, and may the force be with you all, always. Until next time, take care.